Okay, we're going to try something here, a little bit more advanced. This is probably going to be the last tutorial on Photoshop. Um, I apologize right now if I cough again. I've been sick, and things are just a little bit wrong with my throat. That's probably why I sound a little bit more nasally than I did in the last podcast as well, or training videos. All right, so what we're going to do here is let's get some of these tools out. This is the photo. We're going to take the photo of our Wisconsin football players. See, I already struggle with Wisconsin. My boogers are already starting to form. Okay, so I'm sure you wanted to hear that. All right, well, so let's go here. We want to do this. We want to pull out this picture and we want to try and say, hey, let's take the three football players here in the front. We really want to feature this guy in the middle. Okay, so how can I take this photo that's already made and try and get him to punch out a little bit more than what he is? We'll use a couple more of the techniques that you may or may not use. But beyond this, I think this will probably be it. I think you guys will be done, and there won't be much else for you to have to work on. Everything else is a little bit more advanced and a little bit more beyond the scope of just simple training videos. Now, I've gone through and I've already taken the pen tool and I've knocked out these three guys by just going in and drawing, so you can see by me selecting it that they are indeed the ones who are selected. Okay, and I've gone ahead and I've put them on their own individual layer here. See? And what I want to do is I'm going to duplicate this layer. Now, I do this just as a precaution. I don't like to completely destroy my original artwork, so I just keep that there, and then I can go ahead and hide it now. It's no big deal. Now, what I want to do is I want to take this layer, okay, and I'm going to blur it all out. All right, so I'm going to come up here to File, go down to Blur, and go down to Gaussian Blur, okay? And we're going to blur it out. Obviously not that much. That is ridiculous, okay? So what we're trying to accomplish here is we're trying to accomplish a bit of a depth of field. And so I'll turn this layer on. So again, this is just the player's layer, and I'll turn this layer on behind it, and I'm going to slowly blur this layer up to the point where it looks like a natural, obviously not natural, a natural depth of field drop focus. Okay, so this is nothing, and then I'll start to pull it up. Like, well, they're still not really popping out enough for me. Let's pull it up even more. Okay, good. Okay, now they're starting to really pop off the background. And that's what you want to do. You want to say, okay, look, that's popping, really popping. Now, you're going to notice something here. This bottom part, we're going to fix this. It's fine that these guys are all out of focus in the background. That's wonderful. But the grass that they're standing on should not be out of focus, obviously. Okay, so we're going to tone that down just a little bit, just so it's not too obnoxious. Okay, but I definitely want it. So it went from this, where a lot of stuff was in focus, to that, where most of everything except for the three players we're focusing on are out of focus. Say, okay. All right. Now, this is why I didn't destroy this thing, because now I need it. See, I'm glad I didn't do that. Let's copy that layer again. This is the prime layer. Okay. And I'm going to then decide I want to keep this part in focus down here on the bottom. And how do I do that? Well, I only want to see this part of the image. I don't want to see the rest of the image. Okay. And that might be a little hard to understand, so I'm just going to do it. Okay. I'm going to hit this layer. This adds a mask to it. Again, everything's all in white, which means everything's showing. That's not what we want to do. Go over here to your gradient tool. White to black. I'm going to gradient up white to black. I'll do it on a new layer so you can see it. I'm going to go right like this. White to black. Okay, just like that. That's what we're going to do. Only what the problem is I went the wrong way. I went black to white on that one. Okay, so we'll fix that though and make sure that it goes the opposite way. Okay, so that's what I was saying is we want to go from white to black. So this way, I went from black to white. This is what we want to do. We want to do so that we see just this part of the imagery, and then all of this is going to be hidden. Okay, so I'll get rid of that layer because that was just to demonstrate for you. We're actually going to draw it on the mask layer itself. So what it's going to end up doing is it's going to reveal the artwork underneath. Okay, so we'll go from here to there. Now look, see, I did it the wrong way again. I keep doing this. Okay, it's really easy to actually see which way it's going to go. White is on the top and black is on the bottom. So if I pay attention a little more to what I'm doing, I should be able to figure that out. Okay, white up to the black. There. See what I did there? I actually faded from right here, see? So this image, because there's a gradient, faded from being able to see it to nothing by using the gradient. So it went from on the image to opaque, and then it gradually faded into transparent. Now when I make this layer of the three guys visual, it's going to pop on again, see? So now there's more of this gradual, there's absolutely more of a out of focus look to the players in the background. See? But then I made this nice gradual movement so that it looked more natural with their feet onto the ground by keeping that layer. Okay? Let's move on. Now, still not popping off enough to me. So what I want to do is I want to add another layer. I'm going to change it to all black. Now this black layer obviously looks terrible. But what I'm doing is I'm actually going to remove the light from the background by adding the black. Okay? So I'm going to add some black, and it's going to gradually darken that up back behind them. See? Darker, 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 which is pretty decent. Again, you don't want to go crazy, because look, well, that looks artificial. That's not good, obviously. So we're just going to darken it up a bit. Okay? Make them pop off a little more than what it was before. So that's what it was, and that's what it is. They're going to pop off a little bit. Nothing crazy. And then this is the final touch, and they do this a lot in nice Hollywood movies, effects and everything. We're going to add another layer. We're going to put it over on the top. Okay, and then we're going to hit solid layer again. And we're going to get some guides, which I'm glad I'm doing this now because we haven't done this yet. By clicking on the move tool, if I'm on the marquee tool, it won't highlight anything. If I click on the move tool, it'll bounding box will form, okay? And that gives you a great idea of this is the entire shape and this is the center point of that shape. So then I can come in here, do that real fast. I just click right on the ruler and then start pulling down. And I can pull a guide down, okay? Click and drag, click and drag. That's a lot of stuff inside graphics. Click and drag. Okay, now I'm going to select the marquee tool, go from the middle, start drawing out. Now if I hold my Option key or the Alt key, it'll actually draw from the middle instead of drawing from the outside. See, so if I do this, I'm drawing from the corner. I don't want that. I want to go from here, and I click the middle. Now it's going to pull out from the middle. And that's what I want to do. So what I'm doing is I'm making a little vignette, which is going to be like a spotlight. Okay? A spotlight to where I want it to go. Let's say I have what I want. I'm going to hit delete now, and it's going to delete all that off of there. Now to make the soft edges, go up into blur, Gaussian blur. It's one of my favorite blurs, and let's crank that sucker all the way up. There we go. So it's nice and a lot more subtle than what it should be. Okay, we're almost done here. And now I'm going to pull down the transparency of what it's going to look like. Okay, I'm going to get rid of my guides there. Now these guys, these three individual men that are playing football here, appear to pop off quite a bit more, but more importantly, this guy in the middle who we wanted to have pop off is popping off quite a bit more. So if you want to see what the final one looked like in comparison, I've selected all of those layers. I'm going to hit group to group them all together. Command G or Control G to group them all, or I could have hit this little folder here and stuck them all in the folder individually. This is what the original one looked like. And then this is what the final one looked like. You can see how he just completely pops off quite a bit more than this. So if I'm putting together a graphic and it's messy and it's cluttered and there's too much going on, but I still want to keep that background. I still want to have some sort of depth to it. I don't want to have it just on this blank, boring thing. I can still pull out the elements to make them, look a little better just by doing something like this. Okay? I think that's it. I think we are all done. I don't think there's going to be too many other situations where you're going to come up in here. You're going to need to look into all these different tools. Blur is basically your big one that you're going to use a lot, and I tend to just use Gaussian Blur. Does a great job at everything. You're probably not going to use a whole lot of other stuff at all. Now, I suppose here's an example of something I could use. I could do this and say, well, if he was running, we could take this layer and let's do a directional blur. I can say blur, and I can say these are just effects. These are things you'll have to go in and do your own though. This isn't something that I would want to show you all, everybody all the time. But every one of these little features, you'll just have to go in here and figure them out. It's just too much. But if I hit a motion blur, it acts like here's the plane. Okay, if I crank this up, look at the picture. You'll start to make it look like he's running a little bit. See how it's doing that? See? It just kind of looks like there's a little bit of movement going on behind him. It's only blurring right to left. It's not blurring top and bottom or all around. It's just right to left. So if you were to look at just that image, I had an image on top of it. If I were to look at just this image and say blur, motion blur, it just starts to blur it right and left, see? You're like, oh, that's kind of weird. Why would I want to do that? Well, you don't necessarily ever want to use that, but sometimes you do. Sometimes if they're running fast or something and you want to indicate, oh, look at how fast they're running, see? It gives that little blur in the background. Not necessary, just a thing to do. Like I said, most of these filters up here, you're never going to use. You're just going to have to go through sometimes if you feel like doing some sort of cool effect. But for the most part, we've covered everything that you're going to need to build 99.9% of all the graphics you're going to have to worry about.